Welcome back to this week's edition of Frederick Advice Givers. Eric Verdi with Murray Friedman, Hunting Creek Outfitters here in the heart of downtown Frederick. Thank you for tuning into this week's episode. So one of the beauties of being able to do Frederick Advice Givers is one, to meet awesome people like Murray. We actually met him a few weeks ago at the Pop Shop doing the Pop of the Week. And then I love getting local businesses in downtown Frederick. We've done Whitney at the Muse. We've done multiple businesses in downtown, and it's always good to walk into a store that I pass thousands of times as I'm walking up and down the street to the different restaurants and shops in downtown Frederick, and now I can put a face with Hunting Creek Outfitters. So Murray Friedman, welcome.
Thank you.
So before we talk about the business and Hunting Creek Outfitters, tell us about yourself, Murray.
Well, I've been in Frederick for about 22 years now. I grew up in Ohio. Grew up in a retail family. My father and his brother had a few discount stores, like big stores before there were Walmarts and Kmarts. There were individual discount stores. I watched him in the retail, how he treated customers, how he worked with employees, how he interacted with fellow business people, and it really intrigued me and got my blood flowing for the business, and that's sort of where I am today.
So you moved here how many years ago?
1996.
Okay, and how long has Hunting Creek Outfitters been open?
We opened here in 2001. I'd been in the banking business, banking and investment brokerage, and did that briefly in Frederick. Did it also in DC, and then came and opened the business here in 2001.
So have you been at this location for all 17
Yes,
years?
17 years. Seen a lot change in downtown Frederick, all pretty much for the better. But yeah, it was a lot different when we opened our doors a long time ago.
Absolutely was. So why did you guys choose Frederick to open your business?
So I had a connection to Frederick. The reason I'm here in the first place is I grew up in Ohio, went to school at University of Cincinnati. There I met a couple guys that are still friends of mine that grew up in Middletown and Frederick. And that's sort of my connection here. When I made a change, not really in career, but in position, I came to Frederick. I liked the place a lot and stuck around in business. What got me to open this business in Frederick was we deal with a big company called Orvis. Most people are familiar with that. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure they're still doing it this way, but back then Orvis used to advertise looking for people to become an Orvis dealer. Not a franchise, but someone that would promote their product. And they would target areas, I assume, based on demographics and catalog sales and things like that. So Frederick was one of those areas. In Maryland, they had them all over the country. Because of my connection here, I contacted my business partner. He's well connected. We discussed it, contacted Orvis, and got things going. So he was a financial strength behind all of this. I'm kind of the sweat and behind the counter guy, and it's been a good run for us.
Awesome. All right, so tell us about the store. I see hats, I see boots, I see fishing rods, I see Yeti. So who do you cater to?
So we really cater to the outdoor enthusiast. Our forte is fly fishing. And again, where we started and where we are today are a little bit different. We started as what I would call a hardcore fly fishing shop, primarily just fly rods and reels and the accessories that go along with that. And then a lot of Orvis products, particularly clothing, because so many people are familiar with that through the catalog.
Right.
But since then, we've really grown. We're continue to bring in new products. We continue to, we did some stuff with dogs. We did some stuff with, we do sell women's clothes. We sell men's clothes, accessories like the Yeti products. We do luggage. So really, again, anyone that's interested in the outdoors, we want to create a lifestyle. We want to get people going that are going to appreciate this kind of gear and this kind of, like I said, lifestyle.
All right, Murray, so the next two questions are meant to loosen you up a little bit.
Cool.
So what's the last purchase that you splurged on either for yourself or your family?
Well, it might sound boring because of my business, but for me, it was probably a new fly rod, a new fishing rod. Unfortunately, I've yet to use it because I get so busy here, but just a new rod that I've been looking at for a little while and finally pulled the trigger.
So where's your favorite fishing hole in Frederick?
I like Big Hunting Creek. Okay. It's kind of our signature stream, and it's not an easy place to fish. We get people always telling us about how there's no fish in that stream, but then people who know what they're doing come back with really good reports. So it's just tough, and particularly if someone's coming from an area where maybe fishing is a little easier, they get easily frustrated. But it's a beautiful stream. It's the first and only fly fish only stream in Maryland. So it's really got some good history to it. We've been very lucky. Frederick County and Maryland in general has some really good fly fishing history.
How often do you get out, Murray?
Not nearly enough.
Not enough.
No.
All right, so what hobby or interest, and this might be fly fishing, what hobby or interest could you spend hours doing outside of work?
Well, again, the obvious, fly fishing. I could start in sun up and fish till sundown and enjoy every minute of it. I also like running my dog. I enjoy upland bird hunting and some duck hunting, and those are probably my main hobbies.
Okay.
Yeah.
So having been a partner in business for 17 years, what's that drive inside of you that gets you up in the morning, that gets your blood boiling?
Well, besides paying my mortgage
Yeah.
and putting gas in my car, I really like what I do. I mean, I love it. I love being in part of the community. I love catering to a like-minded audience. As a kid, it's something I always really wanted to do, have my own little shop. And it was along the lines of sporting goods. I kind of, back then, thought it'd be more like basketballs and baseballs, but it's developed into this. And so I like getting up. I like the challenge of meeting the demands of our customers and just serving the public. I really feel part of this community. I think a lot of downtown businesses feel that way, and it's just nice to be involved in all of it.
So having been in this location for 17 years and seen so many, it used to be a bank across the street, now it's a
county building.
A county building. Having seen so many changes, have you, do the mayors, aldermen, do they all support you? Are you getting good support with the?
I think we've been, that's a good question. I think we've been lucky that, because if I had to count, probably 5 different administrations, maybe more since we've been here.
Right.
All seem to be very pro-business, all seem to be very pro-downtown. And the aldermen, I see them, some of them on a regular basis. It's nice to be able to see the mayor on a regular basis and on a first name basis. So, I think it's very supportive. We have a very strong Downtown Frederick partnership that you're familiar with, that I'm not sure a lot of what we do could be done without them and the community in general. We're again very fortunate, and it wasn't always that way, but it just continues to get better and better.
Right. So Murray, having been in business for 17 years, what piece of advice could you give somebody that's just starting out?
Well, I would say you certainly have to have the passion and the drive. I see a lot of people with good ideas. They're sitting around a couple cocktails and say, we should open this kind of place, or we should do that. And it all sounds good, but you really need to have the desire to be there. I can tell you, unfortunately, my fishing is suffering. How much time I spend here, how many hours I spend here, how few vacations I take. And I wish I had more of that vacation type time. But the point is, you can't just open a business and then sort of ignore it. That would be my biggest thing. Make sure you have the passion, make sure you want to continue to do it. Where do you see yourself in 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, in regards to your business? Obviously finances, people tell you got to have a year's worth of finances. I think that number realistically is more like 2 or 3, because the chances are you're going to struggle in those first couple of years. You're going to find your legs. You're going to find out what works. And we've had products that we brought in here that didn't work, and we've had products that brought in here that did work. And so you just, there's obviously a period of trying to figure out what's going to work for you. And then, of course, make sure there is a market for what you're trying to sell. Just because you like it doesn't necessarily mean, we're lucky. We do have a fly fishing community here. We obviously have outdoor resources that people take advantage of. But, you couldn't be selling snowboards in Hawaii, if there's no snow. So just make sure you've got a market. But really, mostly, make sure you have that drive. And then, hopefully you're okay with dealing with some adversity along the way.
So 17 years is a long time. I've been in my profession for 16 years, and there's ups and downs. What's a bump in the road that you guys didn't anticipate that you had to overcome in your tenure of ownership?
So I think the biggest obstacle is competing with the internet. And even the products we sell, we're lucky that we sell brand name products and people recognize them nationally, but we're also competing with those same products. So the majority of what I sell, maybe as opposed to some other people that are doing custom pieces, is you can buy this shirt online, you can buy these boots online, you can buy these fly rods online. And the pricing is all standard pricing. So I don't have maybe the same kind of margin somebody else would. But we use that to our advantage too. We take advantage of that advertising as best we can. But really trying to overcome the price matching, the Amazons and that kind of thing. So probably didn't have that sort of issue 17 years ago, but it's certainly been around for the last 5 or 10 and getting stronger every day.
Now the flip side of that is they can come in here and touch and feel and hold and size and everything, right?
Right. Yeah, and that's to our advantage. Unfortunately, what we find in the industry as a whole is sometimes they come in here, touch and feel it, and they go home.
Right.
They go home and buy it. I'm kind of the opposite. I research it online, and then I go to the store and buy it, and that's what we'd hope people do. But what they're not going to be able to do is when you buy somewhere else is get the service.
Right.
And that's a big part of it. Anyone who's bought anything, anyone who's had to deal with a problem, good luck on doing it over the phone or over the internet.
Right. So Murray, in the last 3 years, what's the choice that you've made that's led us to where we are today?
Well, two things. Specifically a product, and I'm not trying to promote any single product, but the Yeti Coolers, I probably did that about 3 years ago. It's been a phenomenal product for us. It's a hot commodity in the industry right now. Lots of people are trying to knock it off, but it's really the kind of premier product. I was hesitant to bring it in because if you're not familiar with the product, they work phenomenally, but they're not inexpensive.
Right.
Some of these coolers are $300-400, and they've added a lot to their product line. But I was real hesitant to bring it in because I didn't know if our customers would buy into a $300 cooler. I think my timing was pretty good, and I feel pretty good about that too, that I caught it on the rise and not on its peak or on its way down. But it was a tough decision to make because it was a considerable investment, but it's been a phenomenal product for us. On the less tangible side, I think just making sure that I have a good team around me, putting a bigger investment into my staff, and some additional training, has really helped. I mean, people is a big deal. Longevity is a very tough thing in this business and retail in general, I think, to keep employees. So if we can make an environment where employees want to stay and then customers get familiar with those employees. Everybody used to have to ask for me, which is fine, but they're now not asking for me, they're asking for my employees, which is great too, because then they know that I know they have confidence in them as well.
Cool. All right, Murray, so I've got to interview 153 other business owners and entrepreneurs. I learned so much from each interview. I want to flip the script and have you ask me a question. Maybe I can add some insight to you.
Well, first, I was hoping I would have cracked the top 150, but 154, I'll take it. All right, this is a question I ask people sometimes. So growing up as a kid, what was the coolest poster you had in your bedroom? I assume you had posters in your bedroom.
Yep. That's a good question. So this would actually go back to Peak Sneaks. What was he, 152, 151? So he was 151 just a few interviews ago. So Peak Sneaks is on.
Right. Yeah, I'm familiar with them. Oh, I know them. I have not been in the room.
All kinds of vintage shoes and sneakers and everything. So walking in there, he had the Michael Jordan poster flying to dunk from about 83, 84. And that poster was in my bedroom growing up. So walking back into Peak Sneaks, it was very, it brought back some emotions from being 8, 9, 10, 11 years old. And there were some other posters in college, but we're not going to go into those posters. So the Michael Jordan one from 83 to 85.
Cool.
That's a good question.
Yeah.
That's a good question. All right, Murray, so what failure or loss has helped mold you to the person you are today? It could be business, could be personal, could be whatever.
Well, business-wise, I had been in the investment business for a long time, and I would say pretty successful at that, but I kind of burned out on the whole thing, and there's a lot of money to be made in that business, but I didn't see the kind of loyalty among, customers, and it's kind of, I don't know, I just lost interest in it, and I wouldn't necessarily say it was a failure, but it was just I was ready for something else. So, and putting on a suit every day and getting up and chasing, getting on the, the proverbial, treadmill or hamster wheel, I guess is a better way of saying it. I didn't really want to do that anymore. So I knew that this was a place where something like this, again, interacting with the customers, being a part of a community, that's really, I think the lack of excitement for my previous job really kind of geared me up for this. I mean, when I think about, I don't feel like going into work today, I kind of think about, well, what else could I, if I wasn't doing this, would I still be doing that? And it motivates me to come in. So that's probably it.
Cool. All right, Murray, so where do you see yourself in the business in 3 years and 10 years?
3 years, we'll be celebrating 20 years in business. That's pretty amazing, I think, for anybody. So 2 decades of being here. I'd like to see myself out of the shop a little bit more, maybe on a trout stream every so often. Hopefully we'll have some additional staff and some additional products. And I just kind of keep plugging along to what we're doing. 10 years, you mean after I've won the lottery?
Yeah, after.
Or after I've married for money or something like that? Yeah, well, I'd be young enough or old enough to retire. I think both. Old enough to retire, young enough to retire. Not sure if I'd be financially sound enough to do that, but I'd like to think I'd be traveling a lot more, fishing or otherwise. I love traveling. I love going to different spots. You asked about a splurge. I mean, if I spend, sometimes I spend it on, vacations. Trips, right. So I don't know that, 10 years from now, we'd be 27 years into this business. I don't have any heirs to take over. Not sure if we'll still be here, but if we will, it'll be pretty amazing.
Awesome. So Murray, now's the time to tell us where you're located, how people can find you, internet, Facebook. So give us the plug. I know we're right in the heart of downtown Frederick.
Right, beautiful downtown Frederick. We're on the first block of North Market Street, just up from the square corner. We're at 29 North Market Street, across from the Frederick County building. We can find us on the web at www.huntingcreekoutfitters.com. We've got an email there. We're working on a new website. It should be up literally this week. We also, love your encouragement and your contributions to our website. We want you to send in pictures from your outdoor adventures, from your fishing, from your dogs, your family. So do things like that. We're always here. We're 7 days a week. We have a short day on Sunday, but other than that, we're 10 to 6 every day. We close on Christmas Day, we close on New Year's Day, and other than that, we're pretty much always here. Love to see you. Come down. We get new products every day. We switch seasons, so we often have good sales going on too. But yeah, stop in. There's always something new.
Awesome. Listeners, viewers, I hope you enjoyed meeting Murray Friedman, Hunting Creek Outfitters, episode 154, Frederick Advice Givers, and we are out.